Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Tina Ducharme, and this is the Crossed Over Celebrity channel. On this channel, I partner up with a celebrity who's crossed over to the other side to review with you their soul contract and talk to you about things that they would like, experiences they want to share. And specifically, today we're going to talk about the body. And that will be very fun. As you know, the guest will be Patrick Swayze. And he was a phenomenal movie star, had a lot of different roles, was very magnetic, was voted, I think, 1991 as the sexiest man alive at that time by People magazine. He has a lot to share with us, and he wanted to come through and talk about how important the body is, and we'll talk a little bit about Ghost, since that was one of his best movies, highest grossing movies, and also was a movie based on a very spiritual experience and about the other side and mediums and channeling. And so here we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. So before we get started, I open up the space before I do these sessions, ask the celebrity to join me, make sure that we have a clear connection. And I make some notes. I have some notes before the session about some things we want to talk about. And then, so we'll get into a little bit more about what they want to share and bring forward messages, because this is all about helping the viewers and what's going on with their lives. So we'll walk through the soul contract. Like I said earlier, we will pull some oracle cards to get some more messages. And so if you're new to the channel, first, thanks for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's free. And we like to get the word out and get some of the messages out that the celebrities are wanting to share with everyone. So, and also I will put down in the description box below, like I always do, a short introductory video if you would like to know more about the soul contracts, how I put the diagrams together, and a little bit of the history of the background and how that all got started. But it's a great tool for people to use. Again, it's all about this self-knowledge and these great tools that we have to learn more about ourselves and how we can make our lives here better and come here to achieve our goals and fulfill our purposes, which is all very, very important things that we came here to do in this wonderful journey that we're all on and sharing together. So I am going to share my screen and we'll take a look at Patrick's chart. So this is the beautiful Patrick Swayze. And he was born in 1952. He died at the age of 57, which I consider fairly young since I'm getting close to that age myself. And so that's why we're talking today about the body and taking care of the body. And we'll talk about what is in his chart here that was causing some issues, because if you know that I'm going to annotate my mouse here. So as I always go through the charts a little bit here, we talk about our physical side of our charts, and then we have our spiritual side, and then we have our overall goal or destiny, purpose that we came here to accomplish in this particular incarnation. So we're going to talk immediately about these sixes in his physical karma. And sixes are all about can be very blocked, because when it's in the karmic, let me explain that. When it's in, all of these numbers have negative and positive experiences that you can draw to yourself. That's how we create our reality. And so the sixes bring about a lot of, because it's in its karma aspect, it's all about opportunities for growth. So it'll bring in a lot of these negative sides to the number. And so stubbornness, he wanted me to bring up first, which is a huge component of the sixes. They can be very stubborn, kind of see things from only their perspective. And he, again, struggled with that. And probably the biggest component for him, as we wanted to talk about, was the body. And sixes are tied to addictions, and especially smoking and alcoholism. So he suffered from both of those. And they can, when it's in its karmic phase, it can be quite fanatical about those addictions as well. I know he's at one time he smoked like 60 cigarettes a day, and all of that toxins again in the body can be very, very obviously hard on the body. And even though we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, we are still given these bodies to live in this 3D environment. And it is very important that we take care of the body. And so again, this would play out for him. And now we're given these talents here, and that helps us to overcome a lot of these aspects and helps us to achieve our goals. So when you have a 4-4 in your physical goal, you're only experiencing this one number, which is actually about abundance and trusting in the flow of God, and how, abundance could be love, money, whatever you consider, whatever energy is there. Having the 4s in his physical goals also gave him an added incentive to achieve, because the 6s here can be this kind of abnormal desire to achieve power. So you're kind of wanting to be maybe too much focusing on how you're going to achieve the end. This can also block him a little bit on where he should be taking risks. I thought he did show some really good risk taking, not so much as far as life threatening risks, but to take risks in his careers. And he did start to do that because this in its karmic phase would challenge him to not want to take risks. So he would always fall back into these kind of roles that were playing out for him, being very masculine. And we'll talk a little bit more of why that was. But again, this is all about for him that coming into this flow of abundance. This is a great duplication. You learn as somebody else learns. So it can be very duplicating of when he was learning and growing. These great talents here, though, I want to talk about these because these are all about building structure. And so he was this wonderful open container, and he came here to build and build and build up his structure of truth, build a business. Having him in talents is just wonderful because the 11 is tied to the Venus energy, and it makes a person very beautiful. And as you can see, he's a very, very beautiful man. And it would help him greatly with this blocked creativity, because it was also about building, and he could bring concepts to reality through his acting skills. So he was able to, do that through the 2s, which is all about emotional resiliency. And so he could bring and play with these emotions and come at them from different perspectives. So this was something that he used greatly in his life, these wonderful talents through his acting career. And he started out being a ballet dancer. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Very unusual, this very masculine man being this very ballet and again, ballet dancer. But again, this was all about building and building up his life in accordance with these energies. And then this would also give him these 2s, this little spring here, this emotional resiliency. So he could absorb failure, learn from it, and build on it. Because he did, as a lot of us do, he had a lot of failures, but he was able to, with this number being in talents, be able to bounce back from that relatively, I don't want to say easily, but he was able to absorb it and learn from it and grow from it. So what's going on here with this 13-4, which is the 13 is all about tied to the divine feminine energy. And it's all about wisdom. And so he's got this in karma here. And so this was where he was struggling to express this wonderful divine feminine energy, because that's not very revered in our society. And so he would get obstructed from this. So he started playing sports and doing things that he thought society would want of this very masculine man, right? Because in the karmic phase, you get kind of the opposite. So even though he has this great charisma and this great access to the divine feminine, which is, we all have a divine masculine and feminine qualities, tapping into that is really where these great maternal nurturing energies come from. And so, and again, the 4s is all about, again, we talked about that trusting in the flow of abundance. So this could be a very blockage for him in getting into the flow and achieving that success that he was really wanting to. So on the negative side of this, he would have this desire to be special, right? An excessive desire. So he would have to be very become conscious of that. He started off, he had really good parents. We have this 13-4 in as that divine feminine. It's really important to have a real good example of that in his life. And he did actually, his mother and father, his father was actually very nurturing. And his mother was the one who was kind of driven. So she might have been a little more in her masculine, and the father might have been more in his feminine. But that was giving him a sense of this great balance that he needed, especially with this being in karma here. So he's got these just exceptional talents. The 7 being in his spiritual talents is all about being extremely magnetic, which he was. Drawing people to you, opening the heart, because it's all about heart healing. And so he was able to, once he would open up his heart, he would even be more magnetic and draw people. 7s are all about being, they can be counselors, they can be actors, because they can be very objective in their expression. And so you can't really read them, but then he was able to draw on this emotional component here of the 2 to really bring these different ranges of emotions to his talents as an actor and draw people to him. Where he got in trouble a little bit here is in this 21-3, which is a real powerful number. The 21 is all about endurance, but it can also be a little bit tied to hardship and things coming. It takes a while to really build this endurance. And I see a lot of athletes with this number because it gives them a lot of drive, but it's also about overcoming and going through the long distance of it. And, this would give him that ability to endure like these failures that he was experiencing, because he was really wanted to achieve very high achieving, in his life. He wanted to be this high achiever. And so this number, is all about really burning through the ego, especially being in the spiritual. So he was seeking out a lot of different spiritualities, which I'm not surprised having that number in his chart. And the 3 is all about, it's really a self-worth number. So this is where he was struggling a little bit, having that 4, that trusting in God, trusting in the flow that things will be there for you. And then the 3s is really about the self-worth. So he was having some worthiness issues. And that's, again, some actors, you see that worthiness coming out where they're really looking for that gold seal of approval, right? Especially when you're blocked, don't think you have it from God. So it's really about him going inner in that inside about, but this is, again, 3s are tied to sexuality, and this is where that sexual power, he had these great magnetic talents. 13-4, when he was when he was really working through that number, it brings in a lot of radiation of spirit, also more beauty, sculpting his body. This 2132 is all about sculptors, and this gives them this great strength to as he built his body up. So you can see all of that playing out for him. Where he got in trouble a lot was through the addictions. His physical karma is very tough. He was doing a lot of things correctly in his life. As I would say, it's not necessarily wrong or right. So please don't read too much into that, because we all came here to experience these things, negative, positive, and the duality that we're in. So there's no judgment on that. He knows he's here. He's saying the addictions were really the crux for him, that these opportunities for growth kept coming back to him. And he was, after he lost his dad, 11s can also be about life to death challenges with, it puts you in this very hypersensitive shock stage. And so he was struggling when he did lose his father, because 21 threes, the threes are all about, they want to teach and learn and grow and share all their knowledge and their money with others. And he really wanted to do that for his dad. He wanted to buy him a ranch, and he wasn't able to do that. His dad ended up dying unexpectedly from a heart attack. So he put him very much into shock. He started to really go back to these coping mechanisms of drinking to get through these difficult times. His 8/8 and soul destiny was about him really, overall, he wanted to learn how to come into his body. This dancing and things that he was doing was an integral part of this, him learning about that, getting into the body, emotionally connecting with society. And the 8s give him a great ability for him to self-acclimate as well into society any way that he chose to. It really gave him that great ability. But it also tells me that he was very, very sensitive, very paternal, very masculine. Again, we see that here. A blockage is a little bit of the feminine, and then he's got this great paternal energy, but it's also a very protective energy, and people feel very safe in his presence. The 2 is also very paternal as well, and can draw people in to feel a safety with him. And they did. I think if you watch him, you just got this real feeling of him, not just the sexual part, even though he exuded that extremely well. So it wasn't surprising to me that one of his best movies that he did, Dirty Dancing, because dancing was so integral to him and growing and really expanding. 6s can be kind of rigid. That helped him loosen up this rigidity, get into more of this divine feminine aspect that was challenging him. And so that he would be able to be a much greater creator and be able to bring those concepts, to an actual reality of his personas he was trying to bring to life. The other thing to the 13/4 that he wanted to mention about the body, because we are talking about the body here, was this can also be, because it's a mothering energy, so you can think of it as the opposite, right? This evasion of your deepest needs, of not nurturing yourself. And again, that's where these toxicity of the not realizing how much harm he was doing to his body came from. He was not seeing that clearly. A little bit on the negative sides of the 11/2 as it can be. The 2s can be a little foolishness to wisdom and not recognizing those needs when we need to. So the 21/3 is being in his spiritual goals was also all about the search for self-knowledge and awareness of the self. And like I said, he did start to search out different means of spirituality, meditation, things like that. Although he's saying to me that he didn't practice that on a regular basis. Usually when he had an episode of failure, 7s tend to want to go off on their own. 6s and karma can also be isolation energies. And so they have to go out and off and be by themselves. So he would get on his horse. 8s are all also tied to the animals. great love for animals, and he had that. And so he also had horses. That kind of links in with me. He was developed a love for Arabian horses, which are the most sensitive horses, or are known to be one of the most sensitive breeds of horses. Doesn't surprise me with his being this eights, which is all about sensitivity, was super, super sensitive. And then he would ride off when he'd have these failures, ride off into the hills with his horse and gain that new perspective that he was needing to see what happened there, what he needed to build on to create that body of knowledge that he was working on in this incarnation. So the issues then that he had when he got back into the drinking was the threes would often trigger, that's a Mars energy. So it's also about activating that his physical violence, he'd get into fights with others. And you could see how he was, when I talked about the divine feminine here, he was playing some of these toxic masculine roles, right? About, fighting to win. And that was how you resolve differences, being the toughest one. And he's saying, no, that's not the case. He wants to go back to the Ghost movie or the Dirty Dancing movie when it's about this emotionally connecting. And then you could see with the Dirty Dancing, again, he was playing this character who was considered lower class, and that's that lower self-worth issue coming, but I gave him a chance to play that to showcase others. And like I said, those movies that did best for him was really that soul essence of him coming out to the forefront, to be played out in front of us. The sevens are about uniting us as groups to kind of see those things. I mean, Ghost came out, we didn't talk a lot about mediums, and this was a hugely spiritual movie that did incredibly well. And it was about him connecting from the other side, like he's doing right now for us through a medium. I don't consider myself a medium. I'm more of a creative channeler. So I get bits and pieces of what they're saying, and he'll show me signs through other means, as well as to what point he, over the last day or so when I was connecting with him about what the points that he wanted to get across. Eights are also tied to commitment. He had this great long-term, and about this longevity here, driven off the 21, this long-term commitment to his partner, Lisa, his soulmate, somebody that helped keep him grounded and helped try to get him to see what he was neglecting in himself. And he's very grateful for her attempts and grateful that she was trying to help him in that awakening. And that he said that would have probably lengthened his life. But he says he wouldn't, most of them always say they wouldn't change anything because the knowledge they gain in these incarnations was just so invaluable. And remember, all our incarnations build onto the next one. He's saying too, he had a lot of injuries he wanted to mention with the body because he would push himself so hard. And again, this was the eights are about learning to come into your body, grounding, so you know what's going on, so that you can feel those emotions. And then he was blocked a little bit here. Remember being blocked from, he had this blocked creativity here and some blockages here as to really what his needs were. And then he would tend to he would have injuries or things would fall apart because he was, again, being way too hard on the body. And eights they can be very hard on the body, not take care of the body. And then when you have these sixes where you've got all these toxins and things he was doing to himself. So he says it's important to know, if you know your soul contract, we know we can help you manage those karmic aspects and get these talents opened up so that you can come here and achieve your goals and kind of get your whole sense of, like, he was emotionally connecting to society. And I thought he did in his movies, did a fabulous job of that. Maybe not so much as a person. He maybe didn't totally, he said, integrate it and come out as himself, because again, with sevens, they all want, part of the negative side of the sevens is they kind of put on these personas and have a facade, and it's about integrating the two selves. And so he was starting to do that through that Cancer journey, coming out and talking about it. but yet he was still keeping a few things hidden there. Sevens tend to like to hide things. And so he said he would have been a little bit more open about that and tried to help and connect with others. And so I just wanted to, I think that was plenty, he said. So we want to stop sharing the screen and come back because he would like to, we're going to pull some oracle cards. So this is again talking about being a creative channel and bringing through his messages. So we're going first to the keepers of the light, angels, because he had a religious background, believed in angels. He did ghosts, definitely resonated. So here, again, I told you he had this great Venus energy with his 11s. And of course, who comes through but Lady Venus? And it's downloads and understanding. Truth is being revealed. Deep insights are coming from heaven and the astral realm. So he wants you to know that there's always truth and understanding coming to you. This is such a beautiful card, and this is all about his learning the wisdom from the feminine. I think we have a Venus retrograde coming up. So he wants you to be kind of aware of that as well. And so, yeah, downloads and understanding. He's saying, watch for the signs, watch for the signs. You'll be guided. That's that intuition. So we are going to work your light. See what else, Patrick. Wants to say. He's telling me about the Lady Venus, that you're always getting downloads from the your guides and angels, and to always be open to be receiving the messages. So this is the card that came out, and it's Keepers of the Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand behind you. He had a great strength in his family. And once he crossed over to the other side, his dad was there. And then he understood that some of the things he was going through were some ancestral patterning as well. So he wants me to go and see what Keepers of the Earth. And you can see the animals on this card as well, because he was so tied into the earth and animals. He loved working on a ranch. So Keepers of the Earth, let's see what he is trying to tell us. Part of us listening here. You are so supported. You do not stand alone. You have a magnificent team of helpers, both in this world and of the earth, who are here to help you every step of the way. Call upon them for assistance. They are here to help you. He tried to help a sister who ended up committing suicide. And so this is why he's trying to bring through these messages that you are not alone, even though there were times he felt it's in your chart can bring, you're so sensitive, can bring you down into a very negative place. The Keepers of the Earth acknowledge the work that you have done already and are ready to work through you. They bow at your feet and thank you for wanting to stand for them, to devote your life to protecting the earth in your unique way. It is time to increase your capacity to receive support in the physical realm. This can come in the form of financial abundance, acts of service from strangers, or people flocking to help you in your work. The only thing that is stopping you right now is your capacity to receive support. You deserve to be rewarded for the work that you are doing. You do not need to go it alone. Call upon Keepers of the Earth to help you in your mission. Open your heart and your mind to receiving more than you ever thought possible. What kind of support do you need? Call it in right away. So let's do this together. He wants me to hold the card up. And please repeat after me. I am open to receiving a whole new level of support for my life and my work. And I call it in now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am open to receiving a whole new level of support for my life and my work, and I call it in now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am open to receiving a whole new level of support in my life and my work, and I call it in now. Thank you. Thank you, awesome, Patrick. Thank you for sharing that. So now I'm going to Wisdom of the Oracle. Once, okay. And the card will come. Okay. And it's got chop wood. So what chop wood is all about, number 42, which is 6, which adds up to 6. Again, that's part of his karma. But chop wood is about continually doing the work, continually forging ahead, continually not stopping, just keep pushing ahead, and then listening for those truths and guidance, and the answers will come to you. And so you can see the door is open. There's a broom there. You can clean up the mess when if you make one. And so the doors will open for you. So we're going to go to the archetype cards from Carolyn Mess. So this is bringing out that light and dark parts of us. Sometimes we don't want to look at. He's like, who are me? This is, yeah, he had some dark things that he was hiding from a lot of people. He couldn't hide it from Lisa, but he did. So again, okay, so this is the God aspect. And so what the light side of the God aspect is, benevolence and compassion, recognizing the eternal force within yourself and others. But the shadow side would be about cruelty and using power to control people. So it's not about being too controlling and about being cruel. It's about, again, recognizing the forces within yourself, because we all are part of God. He wanted me to point out that God is dog spelled backwards. He loved animals, and they are also a part of God. They are here to send messages to help you to learn and grow. So we're going to the Sacred Destiny deck next. And he does want to point out that in there's a lot of truth in the movie Ghost. And he said, watch it again, and those truths will, the truths that are for you will resonate to you, but this is all about simplicity. Isn't that beautiful, the feather? He feels light as a feather now. He felt very heavy here. 8s, we had 8s in a soul destiny. They can really feel heavy in this environment here. They're very sensitive. And now I said it's all been lifted. But we are going to talk about what he wants us to know about the simplicity card, which is on page 88. So that's it. Imagine a single white feather illuminated against a blue sky, wafting on warm air current as it floats to the earth with simplicity and grace. Both Native Americans and Egyptians thought feathers were messages from the sky gods. Chiefs would wear feathers to symbolize their communing with the Creator. It was believed that one who wore feathers on one's head, messages from a human could travel to spirit. Likewise, messages and energy from spiritual realms could travel back down to the human through the hollow shaft of a feather. Feathers were also wafted through the air to cleanse and purify a space. So it says, to find a sacred simplicity and have clarity in your life, do only what matters. Release everything else. Simplify your life. Scan all areas and clear both internal and external clutter. Rest, rejuvenate, and only participate in what is really, truly important to you. Relinquish everything else. Do not delay. Do it now. When your life is cluttered with objects, relationships, time constraints, and emotions, there's no room for spirit. There's too much static and too much stuff to connect to your soul. The smallest amount of clutter clearing can make the biggest difference. And we want to point back to, okay, simplicity in this room. Cleaning, doing the work, cleaning, making space for the new to come in. Beautiful messages. And so we're going to pull the self-mastery, because he was all about self and mastery and achievement. Wonderful qualities. Those are not, achievement is not to be poo-pooed upon. So being a master at something, the 21's, it's all about mastery and drive for him. So he wants to bring forth 54, which is 9, which is ending. So this will maybe be, people need to, there's some endings going on here. These are the higher realms and magic. So I will read from the Archangel. I work with the energies of Archangel Metatron. This is from the Amanda Ellis book. And it's all about self-mastery, Metatron. So when did you stop believing in magic? As a child, you once knew that anything was possible, that dreams could come true, that spirit was real. Maybe you saw things you couldn't understand or failed to make grown-ups believe that what you could see was real. The fairies under the tree, the angel at the bed, or the relative in spirit sitting beside you. Or you may have a child in your life right now who can see and sense this. It may also be that your inner child needs to rediscover this sense of wonder now too. So often we start believing, and then the heaviness of life can squash and diminish our ability to believe in magic and the happily ever after. Disappointments, betrayals, loss all leave their mark, and today you are asked once again to look up and wonder what is possible for you. The lilac rays come to remind you that the world of magic is all around you. You are asked to release your attention from the humdrum of ordinary life and believe that something extraordinary and out of this world again. For it is as real as anything else, much discovered through the layers of consciousness and light. You are asked to lift your eyes to the stars rather than look down at the ground where you feel stuck and thwarted or uninspired. The realm of magic and enchantment is everywhere. The search for gold at the end of the rainbow, the glow of the rainbow, fairy rings, the underwater world of coral reefs, the dew on fresh grass, and the twinkling stars. As children, we believed in fairy tales. We looked up to princesses and princes and sat open-mouthed at visions of fantasy. To have reached the moon, man needed to have looked up and dreamed it possible. You too need to reach to a higher dream. Dream bigger and feel the magic of life stirring around you again. Believing in the angelic realm also brings much comfort and support at this time. Meditating on the lilac angelic palace of this card helps you to attune and connect into this reality and to feel angelic presence around you. This is Metatron at his softest, at his most gentle, and his most magical. Lilac is also a powerful purifier. So allow it to dissolve any negativity or sadness around you, as well as any fear of opening up to the higher realms. The lilac ray also asks you to question what you believe. Chosen by deeply spiritual people who often call to serve spirit in some way, you may question aspects of spirituality, angels, and source energy. Maybe you have had moments of doubts and crises of faith. The lilac ray will pull you magnetically back to explore more, question more, and seek deeper truths. It is your soul calling to remind you that you are so much more than just a physical body. You are soul leading a physical life, not the other way around. You may also use this lilac energy to bring balance where you have been out of balance. Containing both the red and blue rays, think of the red or blue pills in the matrix. Lilac effortlessly calms and balances two separate ends of the color spectrum and can now support and heal your body, mind, and spirit. A powerful, transformative, magical ray. Connect to lilac and let it remind you that all stories start with once upon a time. He said he didn't achieve what he did without taking those risks, digging in, believing in that, the magic of it. It was all very much magical. He did get weighed down again with his karma. And so we're going to, I'm going to ask him for any other messages he'd like to share. He wants to bring in talking about the animals again and how they're a part of us and a part of the divine, and to watch what the animals tend to take on our energy. So if you're struggling with an illness with an animal or issues with the animal, you might want to take a deeper look at that as to how it affects your personal life as well. So there may be some signs there that you're missing. And that's what he wanted to tell for me to tell you, and to thank everybody for being such a great support to him throughout his life, through watching his movies, resonating with them. And he wants to thank his family and friends and all the love and support, and to make sure that we're all opening up to that support. That was something he struggled with here. So he says, okay, to reach out and to gain support from others, to be vulnerable, to be weak. It's okay. We're here to help each other. That's why we come from unity consciousness and we come down in these separate bodies. Separate bodies. Not yet. Okay. He was very present here. That was where he okay, but he said, yep, he had a lot of insecurity too, just like anyone else does. And so what he brought through here was acknowledging apprehension. And this is a mantra that we're going to end the reading with. And this is what I'd like everybody to say. We're going to do another repeat after me, please. When it's a yes, nothing can stop me. When I'm unsure, it's always a no. When it's a yes, nothing can stop me. When I'm unsure, it's always a no. When it's a yes, nothing can stop me. When I'm sure, it's always a no. So he's talking about going back into trusting. Again, he had a little bit of blockages to that, trusting that inner guidance. When something feels right, to go for it. Because even if you don't see he wants to say, even if you don't see the immediate success of it, it's building on something else, he says. A lot of things that people would consider unsuccessful led him to his biggest successes. So he wants to be sure that you're doing your work, moving ahead, not getting too bogged down in what you are perceiving as a failure. None of it is a failure. It's all lessons meant to help you along your path of growth. And he's saying, and making sure you take care of the body, Mother Earth, by sustainability, eating good, wholesome foods, working on those addictions. Because if you have that in your chart, it really was meant for you to overcome it. And so with that, Thank you so much, Patrick, for being here with us today. I'm so honored and grateful. And I felt he just touched my head. He's so warm and loving, and he has this just wonderful energy about him, this magnetic. You can tell his heart is open. I'm actually feeling a pain in my heart because his is so encompassing and it's so healing. And with that, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. With that, thank you and much love to everyone.